What would you do if the person you trusted most left breadcrumbs of betrayal right in front of you and thought you were too blind to follow them? It was 2:14 a.m., and the only light in our bedroom came from my phone screen glowing against the ceiling. Emily was asleep beside me, her back turned, breathing slow and steady like nothing in the world could touch her. I wasn't even snooping at first. I was trying to check what time my dentist appointment was. We shared a calendar. Always had. That's when I saw it. A string of appointments labeled consultation scattered across Tuesdays and Thursdays. Different times. Different parts of the city. No details. No mention of them. No reason for her to keep them hidden. And one address, over and over again, kept appearing. A boutique hotel on West 47th Street. My thumb hovered over the screen as my chest tightened, because I already knew, and I didn't want to confirm it. But I tapped it anyway. And what I saw next made my stomach drop in a way I still feel when I close my eyes. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel, tell us where you're from, and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. At first, I tried to convince myself there was a logical explanation. Emily worked in marketing, clients, meetings, presentations. Maybe the hotel had conference rooms. Maybe consultation meant something professional. But then I checked the times again. 11:30 a.m., 1 p.m., 3:15 p.m. Always midday. Never overlapping with her office hours, but just far enough from them that she'd have an excuse to step out. And she had never once mentioned any of it. The next morning, I watched her differently. Busy day? I asked over coffee. She didn't even look up from her phone. Same as always. Same as always. That phrase echoed in my head the entire time I drove to work down the FDR Drive. Same as always, while she had been slipping into a hotel room on West 47th behind my back. The humiliation didn't hit all at once. It crept in, slow and poisonous. At the office, I couldn't focus. Numbers blurred. Emails went unread. My mind kept replaying every moment from the past few months. Every late meeting, every sudden mood shift, every time she turned her phone away from me. By the time I got home that evening to our apartment on Lexington Avenue, I wasn't confused anymore. I was watching a stranger. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing was wrong. Hey, you're home early. Yeah, I said, studying her face. Thought I'd surprise you. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That's when I started paying attention. Really paying attention. She began guarding her phone like it contained nuclear codes. Bathroom trips got longer. Her tone toward me shifted, shorter, colder. When I tried to touch her, she'd subtly pull away, like I was an obligation she'd already outgrown. One night, I reached for her in bed. I'm tired, she muttered. You've been tired for weeks, I said quietly. She turned to face me then, irritation flashing. Not everything is about you. That line, it stuck. Because everything used to be about us. A week later, I followed her. I told my boss I was taking a sick day. Parked 2 blocks from her office building in Midtown. Watched from across the street as she walked out at 11:12 a.m. Right on schedule for one of those consultations. She didn't go to a meeting. She hailed a cab. I followed. Traffic crawled, but I didn't lose her. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles went white. When her cab stopped in front of the hotel on West 47th, my heart started pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. She stepped out, adjusted her coat, and smiled. Not the polite smile she gave me anymore. Not the tired one. This one was different. Alive. Anticipating something. Someone. I parked down the block and watched her walk inside. I sat there for 20 minutes. Then I went in. The lobby smelled like expensive perfume and polished marble. I kept my head down, pretending I belonged there. The elevator doors opened just as I approached, and for a second, just a second, I thought I saw her reflection in the mirrored walls. And she wasn't alone. A man stood beside her. Tall, confident, his hand resting casually on the small of her back. Like he owned her. I didn't confront them. Not then. I walked out, back into the cold New York air, and felt something inside me crack. That was the moment I broke. The next few days were a blur. I barely slept. Barely ate. Every time she spoke to me, it felt like listening to a lie wrapped in a familiar voice. But something else started growing alongside the pain. Clarity. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of the calendar. Photos of her entering the hotel. Timestamps. Dates. Patterns. Then I dug deeper. I checked our bank statements. Charges for lunches she never mentioned. Ride shares during odd hours. Small hotel-related fees she thought I wouldn't notice buried among regular expenses. And then I found his name. Daniel Harper. It was on a receipt. Room service. Billed to a corporate account. I searched him. Senior executive. Married. 2 kids. Of course he was. I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt purpose. I hired a lawyer quietly. Sat in a sterile office on Park Avenue and laid everything out. She's been using joint funds, he asked. Yes. And you have proof of infidelity? I slid the folder across the desk. He looked through it slowly, then nodded. We can destroy her in court. That word, destroy, settled over me like a promise. But I wasn't done yet. I found Daniel's wife. It took time, but eventually I got her number. I didn't call immediately. I waited. Planned. The day I chose was deliberate. Emily had one of her consultations scheduled at 1 p.m. At 12:45, I walked into the hotel lobby. This time, I didn't hide. I went straight to the front desk, confirmed the room under Daniel's name, and took the elevator up. My heart was steady now. Cold. I knocked on the door. There was a pause. Movement inside. Then it opened just enough for her to see me. And everything in her face collapsed. What are you doing here? She whispered. I pushed the door open. Daniel stood behind her, shirt half-buttoned, frozen. I looked at both of them. Then I stepped aside. Come in, I said. Because right behind me was Daniel's wife. The silence that followed was suffocating. Emily started crying immediately, grabbing at me, at anything. I can explain. No, I said calmly. You're done explaining. Daniel's wife didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked at him like he had ceased to exist. Within weeks, everything unraveled. The divorce was brutal. My lawyer made sure of it. The financial records, the evidence, it all painted a picture she couldn't escape. She lost the apartment, the savings, her reputation. Daniel lost more. His job, his family, everything. Emily tried to reach out afterward. Calls, messages, emails. I never responded. The last time I saw her was outside the courthouse on Center Street. She looked smaller somehow. Hollow. I made a mistake, she said, voice shaking. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said, no, you made a series of choices. And I walked away. Now, months later, I sit alone in a different apartment. Quieter, emptier, but honest. Sometimes I still wake up at 2 a.m. Sometimes I still think about that glowing phone screen and how something so small exposed everything. Because the truth is, she didn't destroy our marriage when she cheated. She destroyed it the moment she believed I would never find out. The end.